in your prayers the victims of the shooting last week in Las Vegas, and those folks in Puerto Rico and Florida and Houston who continue to struggle with the aftermath of the storms. With that, would everybody please rise for the pledge and a silent prayer? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Brunelli.
Here.
Alderman Cicchetti.
Here.
Alderwoman Cotto.
Here.
Alderwoman Cummings. Alderman DiGiovincarlo.
Here.
Alderman Giacomi.
Here.
Alderman Guerrera.
Here.
Alderman Hadley.
Here.
Alderman Kula.
Here.
Alderman Lopez.
Here.
Alderwoman Martinez McCarthy.
Here.
Alderman Napoli.
Here.
Alderman Padula. Alderman Sherman. Alderman Pernaruski.
Here.
12 present, 3 absent.
We have a quorum. I think actually Alderman Cummings has just come in, so we have a quorum. So the first item of business this evening would be public speaking. Anyone who wishes to address the board, please sign up with Mr. Conway, the city sheriff. Please state your name and address for the record at the beginning of your talk. There's a 5-minute limit, and I will give you a 1-minute heads up. Mr. Sheriff, if you call the first speaker.
First speaker tonight from 93 Kelsey Street, Danielle Albert.
Hi, everyone. Do I need to restate my name and address?
Yes.
Danielle Albert, 93 Kelsey Street.
Thank you.
I am here tonight as a taxpayer who cares about our city, the future of our residents, and as an individual whose life has been touched by addictions. About 2 weeks ago, while reviewing the minutes from the September Board of Aldermen meeting, I discovered 2 redevelopment and revitalization project proposals, Adam Street redevelopment and the other Johnson Street revitalization. Back in June, I read an article in the paper about a property at 5 Johnson Street. Considering the direction our city is trying to take with revitalization, it seemed there was something that could and must be done with that property. So I had an idea. I handed in not 1, but 2 RFPs to the Waterbury Housing Authority and did a walkthrough of the 5 Johnson Street property. In the 2 RFPs submitted, I proposed the creation of a 12-step sober living house, not to be confused with a halfway or rooming house, licensed treatment center, Connecticut Renaissance, or a methadone clinic. Sober housing will bring together the redevelopment and revitalization aspect of what our city is trying to accomplish while beginning to put solutions in place to combat the opioid epidemic. The solution is sober housing. In an attempt to bring everything together, I reached out to Mayor O'Leary in June. I met with Mr. Joe Geary in July. In August, I met with the community liaison from Congresswoman Este's office, as the Congresswoman has been visibly connected to helping combat this epidemic in our city. I've also sent emails to the Republican American and Mr. Frank Montero, as he has been an amazing contributor to humanitarian and revitalization projects such as Gaffney Place. And now I'm coming here to all of you. Sober houses do exist. My own father gained sobriety via sober living and then went on to own and operate multiple homes over the course of the last 21 years. There is a tremendous success rate, 20 to 25% for individuals that live in sober housing for a year or more after treatment. We are in a unique situation where a project like this is both beneficial to the city and to those caught up in the opioid epidemic. It just needs the support of all the community resources and city leaders involved. Sober housing will get abandoned, blighted properties back on the tax rolls. It will decompress the shelters. It will help keep those battling addictions out of the court system, and most of all, it's self-supporting. Most important, within the fellowship, rules, structure, and camaraderie of sober living, residents can return to being productive members of society. A task force, forums, social media, and Narcan training can only do so much. You can only take this package apart and put it back together so many different ways. This is a wonderful source of information. However, nowhere in this booklet can I find an answer to where do we go after treatment. The options are limited. Those in recovery often can't go home, they can't go to a shelter or sleep on a friend's couch, and that's the reason why most end up back on the street. Sober living is self-sufficient, long-term residential treatment. It is the treatment of the future, and it's what I believe the missing piece of the opioid task force is. The question I've been asked is, why Waterbury? And the answer is simple. Waterbury is the perfect place for this pilot program. The data proves the need is here, and we have the most phenomenal community resources available. As a community, we have to destroy the perception of, well, we don't want those people here, or I don't want that house in my neighborhood. Because, ladies and gentlemen, those people, they are here. They're our neighbors, our friends, our sons, our daughters, and our parents. I think it's safe to say many of us in this room have been affected by addictions in some way. I am here because sober living has saved the lives of people that I love. I have seen how fellowship and support received after treatment is the key component in a life of recovery. It's imperative that this city start thinking out of the box. I am here with a viable, successful solution to help change things.
1 minute, Ms. Albert.
Waterbury can be the leader in this pilot program and set the tone and finally begin to save lives. This city needs to find a way to help those who desperately need it and give hope to those families of the abusers. Folks, Narcan may save a life, but sober living will give people a way back to their lives. I actually have 16 copies of the RFP that I submitted to Waterbury Housing Authority I'd like to turn in, and included in it are letters of support for sober living. So I truly hope that all of you will read this thoroughly and take the time to consider making this happen in our city. Thank you.
Next speaker from 11 Steuben Street, Lawrence V. DiPillo.
Did you give those copies? If you give them to this Steve, he'll bring them up and give them to the clerk to get them distributed. Mr. DiPillo, go ahead.
That's fine. Good evening. Lawrence DiPillo, 11 Steuben Street in Waterbury. I'm here to talk about taxes, specifically the car tax. The car tax was supposed to be sent out with the property tax bills, but was delayed by the mayor. What distressed me about that is this Board of Aldermen passes resolutions. The mayor certainly has the authority and the right to veto a resolution and send it back to the Board of Aldermen. The mayor does not have the right to simply ignore a resolution by the Board of Aldermen and decide not to send out car taxes. I understand why it was done, because of a state budget, but that doesn't excuse this board from its responsibility in making sure that when it passes a resolution, it's either enacted or it's vetoed, and you have the right to override. The mayor waited, and it seems the state budget still isn't ready at this point, and decided to send the car taxes out. Unfortunately, they were sent out after the appeal process had already lapsed. And the appeal process is specified by state law, not by any action this board takes. And therefore, from what I understand, more than 800 people last year appealed their car taxes.
Thank you.
And my understanding is that this year you had 8 appeals based on tax serve only. People can't appeal their car tax if they don't know what the tax is. So now the bills are out. The timeline has already gone for appeals, and what I expected to see in the bill was a note from the Board of Aldermen, from the administration, stating that the September appeal process has lapsed and that the administration is now going to attempt to have the car tax appeals done in May, I believe it is, when the property tax appeals are done. But there was no such notice in the newspaper. There was no such notice in the tax bills. And I did ask the newspaper reporter whether or not he had heard anything, and he said, well, as far as he knows, the mayor has said that he's going to try and get the car tax appeals done at the same time the real property tax appeals are done. You know, I asked this board, this is not the way the city should be run. I asked this board to take action, notify the newspaper if that's what needs to be done, find out for sure whether or not the state is going to allow the citizens of Waterbury to appeal their car taxes at a time when real property taxes are appealed, and allow those 800 or however many there will be this year who want to appeal their car tax to do so. It's not fair just to send out a bill and say it's due by November 1st and not notify people when they can appeal, or by doing due diligence if they can appeal. So I would like very much for this board to take that action on behalf of the taxpayers, because although the delay may have benefited some, I understand a number of taxpayers say that they saved their money for the July tax bill and that money is gone. And we'll see what they do when November 1st comes and whether or not they have the money then to pay the bill. But more importantly, the right to appeal, which is a right that as of this date, they have been denied. Thank you very much.
Next speaker from 112 Concord Street, Thomas Pelletier.
Thomas Pelletier, 112 Concord Street. First of all, about the tax bills, if I'm not mistaken, last week, the mayor on his radio show did say something about, I can't remember the exact date, but did answer a question that was on the radio about the appeals process. And this whole notion that nobody was notified about their car taxes, and what the mayor came out specifically at the last Alderman meeting, said what the plans were, who to call. So this whole thing about nobody being told is just ludicrous. Secondly, I come here tonight. In the last few weeks, we've read things in the paper. We've read things in the Observer concerning the budget, and you know, I know that we're in election season, and you know, people tend to go straight to the paper and the Observer about things. But quite frankly, what came out in the Observer asking the mayor what's the game plan if we don't get the money from the state, the game plan since 2011 hasn't changed. This mayor's office has come to this board on numerous occasions when we face the same dilemmas on what we're facing, how many times the mayor's office has been up to Hartford trying to get Hartford to do the right thing. I can't tell you from watching him on TV and listening to the radio how much time he spent up in Hartford and bringing other members and communities and cities trying to get Hartford to do the right thing. How is he supposed to be able to tell people what the tax rate is when we can't even get people up in Hartford to sit down like we do on an everyday basis here? The guy's doing the best job he can and answering the questions to the best of his ability, and people are coming up here blaming him. They should be calling their representatives, they should be calling their state senators, asking what the heck's going on. I mean, we're the last state in the country to come up with a budget. Now, quite frankly, they said this weekend there has been some success, but, you know, it could be next week, it could be the following week. But we're doing everything in the city to try to do our part to alleviate the taxpayers from what possibilities could happen down the line. And I commend this board. You know, but let's not attack the mayor. Let's not attack, you know, people like to throw the weight around about Governor Malloy, but, you know, let's also blame the legislature, because quite frankly, Malloy has tried to fund things that haven't been funded for years. The pensions, everything else. And no matter how much money the guy tries to put into these things, get watered down into projects, somehow go someplace else. We need Hartford to be on the same page as us. You know, I commend Joan Hartley. I commend a lot of our legislators and the Waterbury delegation that are on the same page here. But, you know, we are facing some tough times. And the article yesterday in the paper, and I got people going around town saying, oh, the city's done, we're in junk bond status. Last time I checked, we were in AA plus status. Nobody else in the state of Connecticut could say that. You know, yes, we do have to be worried about what the potentials are without a state budget, but something tells me that I think Hartford is starting to get the point that people are getting tired of people going up there, then coming home, then going back up there.
1 minute, Mr. Pelletier.
You know, Hartford should be able to do the same thing we all do as family. We set our budgets, the city sets our budgets. You know, I mean, we can't blame the mayor. The mayor's doing his job. He's informing everybody on this board in the city to the best of his ability. And yet we still have people coming up here. Yes, it's the election season, and, you know, in the next few days I will be going to the paper to expose the people that never have anything nice to say about the city of Waterbury. You know, just yesterday I was told that, you know, my poll rating, I think it was somebody busting my chops, but they said my poll rating since I've been on the park board has been phenomenal. I don't pay attention to poll ratings like the mayor.
Thank you,
and
Tom.
our job is to make sure things get done. So thank you.
Mr. President, that's the last speaker tonight.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda then would be the approval of minutes for the meeting of Monday, September 25th, 2017. Is there a motion with respect?
Motion to approve the minutes from Monday, September 25th.
Second.
Made by Alderman Cicchetti, seconded by Alderman Napoli. Are there any changes to the minutes? Hearing none, the motion is to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. With that, we will recess into our committees. There's only 4 items, so we'll do both of them out here. We'll start with finance and then go to intergovernmental.
I call the Finance Committee meeting to order. Item number 4. Your Finance Committee respectfully recommends that the Board of Aldermen approve the amendment of the childhood lead poisoning surveillance contract, increasing the funding from $36,484 to $37,310 for period 3/10. I'm going to do this. Period 3, October 1, 2015. 09, September 30th, 2018, of the program operated by the Health Department's Environmental Health Division, which provides outreach, education, and case management to detect and prevent childhood lead poisoning, as submitted by Cynthia Viatone, Assistant Director, Department of Public Health.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Standing Committee. Your Finance Committee respectfully recommends that the Board of Aldermen approve and authorize the Director of Finance to make refunds to taxpayers representing overpayments of tax bills in the amount of $20,186.62 submitted by Revenue Collection Manager Frank A. Caruso.
Yeah, that's really.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Good evening. We'll call tonight's intergovernmental meeting to order. First item on the agenda is item number 2 from Paul Bellegama, City Engineer, Department of Public Works, regarding construction contract with B&W Paving and Landscaping, LLC, in the amount of $1,938,450 for the 2017 milling and paving of city streets. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Alderman Guerrera.
Thank you. When the public hearing was for the bonding of this, someone made the suggestion that they were surprised that this paving was happening at this time. Don't we do this on an annual basis, paving different roads?
Yes, Paul Bellegama, City Engineer. Yes, we do the milling and paving on an annual basis.
Okay. And also, just so the public understands, how do they pick which roads are paved and which roads are not?
We select the roads on each year's list based on inspection of the roads by our staff, based on the conditions of the roads, the age of the roads. We also consider citizens' requests for road paving or complaints that we get in. And this is also a year-to-year ongoing list that we maintain that kind of rolls over from year to year.
Okay. And I'm glad that Boyden Street, North Main Street, and Long Hill are being looked at because they've needed improvements for a while, so thank you.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is item number 3 from Don Carver, Superintendent, Bureau of Water. Agreement with Central Electric and Generator, Inc. in the amount of $407,847,000 for the purchase, delivery, installation, and testing of the new emergency generators for 4 pump stations. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve item 3.
Discussion? Alderman Guerrera.
Thank you. I was just curious why the North Main Street pump station was so much more than the other 3.
Oh, Terry Latifi, the engineer with the water department.
Could you state your name for the record?
Terry Latifi, the engineer with the water department. North Main pump station is a bigger pump station because it serves bigger area.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That concludes our business for the evening. Can I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned.
With that, we'll return to the regular order of business. Because we just went through these and there's only 4 items, I'm not going to read all of the items. I will simply say that item number 2, item number 3, and item number 4 are all on the consent calendar. Is there a motion with respect to the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar is read.
Second. Motion made by Alderman Giacchetti, seconded by Alderman Napoli. Are there any additions or deletions to the consent calendar? Hearing none, then the motion on the table is to approve the consent calendar as read. A yes vote will be to approve it, a no vote to disapprove it. to a roll call.
Yep. Alderman Brunelli.
Yes.
Alderman Cicchetti. Alderwoman Cotto.
Yes.
I got it. Alderwoman Cummings.
Yes.
Alderman DiGiovincarlo.
Yes.
Alderman Giacomi.
Yes.
Alderman Guerrera.
Yes.
Alderman Hadley.
Yes.
Alderman Kula.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderwoman Martinez McCarthy.
Yes.
Alderman Napoli.
Yes.
Alderman Padula.
Yes.
Alderman Sherman.
Yes.
Alderman Pernaruski.
Yes.
15 approved consent calendar.
The motion carries. The consent calendar is approved as read. With that, we'll go to Alderman Hadley as chairman of the Finance Committee for standing committee reports.
Mr. President, your Finance Committee respectfully recommends that the Board of Aldermen approve and authorize the Director of Finance to make refunds to taxpayers representing overpayments of tax bills in the amount of $20,186.62 submitted by Revenue Collection Manager Frank A. Caruso.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Lopez and seconded by Alderman DiGiovincarlo. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. The motion carries. The overpayment refunds are approved. Just to let you know, the mayor has asked me to let you know that we are going to schedule a special meeting for November 13th at 7 o'clock here to have an update on what is hopefully by then a state budget, or at least where we are in that process and where the city is, and also to discuss and ultimately dispose of the fiscal year 2017 surplus. So as we get more information on that, it'll be available, but I wanted you to be aware that the 13th at 7 o'clock is when we expect to do that. With that, is there anything else for the good of the order? Alderman DiGiovincarlo.
Yeah, just for the next meeting, I'd like to invite Tax Collector Frank Caruso in to just give us a breakdown of all the uncollected motor vehicle taxes, where we stand, how aggressively are we attacking them, and if Tax Serve is holding them up. Maybe if we can get a representative from Tax Serve. I don't know if they'll come down, but just to get a breakdown of what's owed and how we're going after them, please.
Yep, I'll connect with them to see if we can do that.
If we could,
Alderman Cummings.
thank you. If we could also include if what's happening with the appeal process as part of that discussion for the car taxes, so we have something official on the record and in full public access for our constituents. Thank you.
Anything further? Alderman Sherman, there's more business tonight in the good for the order than there was for the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just an update on the gentleman that was driving down the street with the boot on his car. Waterbury PD has ID'd that gentleman, and they do have a warrant out for his arrest.
Thank you. Did you get a picture of that being served? Or? Alderman Padula.
Thanks, Mr. President. I just wanted to tell everyone, hope they had a wonderful Columbus Day and have a wonderful week. Thanks.
Anyone who hasn't been heard from yet want to say something? No? All right. With nothing further, I will call on Alderman Brunelli.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion having been made and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned.